What's up, Rapport family? It is your boy C-Dub. Hugh Freeze says that Payton, the QB1 position is Payton Thorne's job to lose. We ask you, who do you think gives Payton Thorne a challenge for QB1? We ask that and more in today's edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
This is the Weekend Tailgate. Brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub. I Joe. Be Will. By G. You are now listening to
Happy Sunday, everyone. We want to welcome you to the latest and greatest Weekend Tailgate, courtesy of Golden's Cast Iron. Do us a favor, y'all, and head over to goldenscastiron.com/WR, where you can get 15% off of your weights and kettlebells using the code Get Your Weight Up, or $65 off of a fire pit or a Kamado grill using the code TWR. We definitely want to show some love to Golden's Cast Iron for being a sponsor of today's show and for partnering with us to bring you some exclusive dope content fireside. Also, want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. Again, checking us out. We'll appreciate it even more if you shared this video and if you smash that like button and if you subscribed if you're new to the channel. Those are some of the things that you can do for free. But if you want to support us even further, become a member, I can tell you how to do that as well.
Really easy. You click the join button, you decide what level you want to support, and then you can, start getting this great insider content that we have. Patron members, we are coming at you with more film review during the off season. We appreciate everybody for doing that. If you want to gift a membership and you're already a member, somebody can get a free month membership on you just by you gifting that membership to them in the live chat. We're going to do another mug giveaway today. So hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the live chat to be able to be a part of this and listen to us on the network. We are the War Report Podcast Network with the Auburn Express, Uptempo Podcast, College Loop, and Just a Sec Pods.
You know, I was thinking that we were going to be able to shout out women's basketball. I thought this game would be over by the time that we got to this particular point, but I think it's 42 seconds left. They're up 74-71 over Florida on the road, a much needed road win for the ladies Auburn Tigers. Ike, before we get into our main topic, how you feeling? It's been a mixture of emotions as I've been watching you watch this game.
Yeah, man, they are putting me through it, man, because they do so well for, and then they just do back to back things, and I'm just like, oh my god, can y'all just not do that right now? But yeah, they've got the lead right now.
They're in good shape. They're in good shape for the most part.
They're in okay shape, but it's way too close and way too much time left, and
we'll see. I have everything over here. I will provide updates when we can. But let's switch gears if you can, guys. I know this is a pretty intense part of the game, Mike. But let's switch gears and let's talk Auburn football. Hugh Freeze met with media on Thursday, just kind of preview spring camp. There's a certain person who was there. I think he's here as well, who asked him the question about QB competition. And Hugh Freeze had a lot to say about that. Mike G, you know who was there who asked that question?
Well, I was there.
Oh, okay.
There. I don't know who asked the question, though. I don't ask questions anymore. I get flack every time I ask a question, so I don't ask it.
You have a very distinct voice,
yeah,
Mike.
I'll just say so I won't get fined.
All right. Well, let's Hugh Freeze made some comments about spring ball and about the QB position and how they were handling the competition. And he made some interesting comments that I want to play before we get into our question. Ike, do you want to cue that up for us, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I got you.
The hardest thing is when you have four guys that you really want to get looks at is getting them all quality reps. We would chart every single rep in endo, every single rep on footwork. I've got a team of 3 guys that are charged with that, and decision-making, execution, and getting them quality reps. Obviously, you're going to get really good looks at Payton and Holden and Hank, and then you want to get Walker some because I think he's so talented. I mean, his arm strength's phenomenal. He made throws the other day that I mean, it takes great arm strength to make, but he's swimming and everything's coming at him really fast right now, and we've got to find a way to slow that down and get him quality reps too. So it's a challenge to do that, but we're going to find out who grades out the best at leading our football team and executing the plan that we're putting in place. And day one, it was a very, very challenging. Y'all were out there. The win was a challenging day for quarterbacks, for sure. I thought Hank Brown threw it extremely well in those conditions, and anxious to see his continued growth along with the others. Well, every spot is wide open in my mind right now. Now, let me be clear. I think Payton has done an incredible job since January of taking the leadership role and setting the standard. Do I think it's his to lose? Yes. But he's got to go earn it every day. And we're not in a position where we can just say that it's given to somebody. He's got to, we're changing our whole verbiage, our whole system back to what I'm comfortable with. And I need to see who has the best grasp on that.
Hugh Freeze pretty much has doubled down in terms of maintaining that competition is going to be open this spring. Let's just get to it. Do we believe him at this point as it pertains to who QB1 is, the inexperience of the guys behind them? Do we believe that this is an open QB competition? B. Will has a lot of the body language going on right now. I'm gonna start with you, sir.
No, it's not open. No, it can't be Payton Thorne's to lose and be an open competition. That doesn't work like that. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Okay. If it's his to lose, then that means he has the job. In Hugh Freeze's mind, okay. You can't. These things don't fit together. Every position is wide open. Payton Thorne has done a good job since January, when no football is being played, when no actual on-field stuff is happening. Now, everybody can go practice with anybody, but anybody can look like a workout hero throwing in an open field to receivers with no defense, no structure. What could be done in January that should actually count towards these things? Leadership. The value of leadership is incredibly high to Hugh Freeze, and that's been clear since he's got here. He's spoken about the tenor of the locker room and character of the players, and he talked about that in that same presser, talking about the leadership council and the players being the ones to take that on, right? What can you do in January that should determine that you are the person who should be out here fielding passes in August? Nothing. I'm an incredible leader. There are a lot of people. There's sometimes people in the chat who show up. They were like, "Yeah, man, I used to work for B. Will," and they shout me out, and it's all good and it's great. I don't want to be your quarterback though. Do you want me as your quarterback? Is that how that should work? Because I was a great leader. Brian, you go, I don't know, sign the checks for the university since you were. No, that's not how that works. You can be a really good dude and the best dude, but sometimes you just need to be the rah-rah. If you're really good at the rah-rah, be the rah-rah dude. We heard so often Elijah McAllister. He was a rah-rah dude. He was a leader. He was, matter of fact, that was the number one thing both Hugh Freeze said about him and his old coach said about him. He wasn't the best defensive end that we had. Once Jalen McLeod got back, it was clear that's the best person that should be playing that position right there. It's not that McAllister couldn't contribute. I have questions. I'm going to give some to Mike at the next press conference. I'm just playing. But it's clear that there's a disconnect there because you can't leadership your way into not throwing pick sixes. That's what I think about those statements right there.
You're muted, C.
No, I keep getting muted. Oh, how you feel, Mike? What's your thoughts?
Look, I'm gonna echo something that Brian said. Well, I just don't know what you see in practice that makes you think that's gonna make you feel great about Payton. That whatever you see in practice is going to translate to the season. Hugh Freeze has gotten in the habit of saying the quiet part out loud. right? And what do I mean by that? Well, he's telling you it's Payton Thorne's job to lose. And I'm like, Payton Thorne's job to lose? After the bowl game, you said it was wide open. So when you tell me one guy clearly has an advantage on everybody else, that doesn't tell me that the job is wide open. That doesn't sound like a wide open competition.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna leave it right there, pass it to Ike. I'm sorry. Like, if you're trying to sell to me that it's a wide open competition, don't come out and tell me it's his job to lose. But he's got to go out there and lose it. You just told the rest of the quarterback room they're playing from behind. And then you have a bias toward the experience of the guy who didn't get it done for you last year. What? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I do. This is kind of where I expected it to be, where it was going to be Payton Thorne in the driver's seat.
Sure.
But I don't know. Again, I've said this for a while. I don't know that I'm going to believe in a QB competition until I see a true QB competition. I've heard that word being thrown around for a while, and it hasn't actually been the thing. And I don't know that those exist, right? Like, they are mythical creatures out there in the ether somewhere that only come about when you twirl around 3 times, wish on a star. I don't know how you actually get a QB competition.
Yeah.
But they don't manifest themselves naturally. They don't exist naturally in the wild. I've never observed them.
I'm gonna try that off camera. I guess my question here is: do you guys think that there seems to be because there's a kind of a reset in terms of staff? Hugh Freeze did mention, hey, we got my terminology. It's really my offense, what he's saying. Do you think that it's basically year one all over again in terms of that's what I'm getting. That's the impression I'm getting.
Come through, Mike.
That's the impression I'm getting from Hugh Freeze.
Come through, Mike.
It's really year one because last year wasn't normal. So we're gonna all the things that we were doing for Payton Thorne in year one, we're doing here because it's my offense now. Talk to me, Mike.
Look, terminology wasn't the reason Payton Thorne went out there and threw them terrible pick sixes last year. So let's just keep it a buck for a second, right? Like, it was not one of those things where it wasn't one of those things where you're blaming system on some of those things. Look, man, you brought him in because he was supposed to be an experienced guy that gave you an edge with all that experience. It didn't happen last year. So if you're going to go with them, just go with them. But don't feed everybody else lines about, and this is what the problem I have. Like, if that's a bias that he has, media, I love it. Because that's what we get to talk about. If I'm looking at it as a fan, I don't want to hear that from this coach. I just don't. I'm sorry. I'm not using the same measuring stick for Payton Thorne than I am the other guys who haven't started 2 years at the Power 5 level.
All right.
It's just not fair. I don't get it. But all right, look. I mean, in my mind, and I'll yield the rest of my time. The only question I have is how long into the season is it going to take for them to pull the plug if it's not working? Because you got 2 cupcakes and Cal. Arguably, Cal would be a cupcake. I mean, who knows, right? And it's not going to be fair to give him 3 weeks to be mediocre against terrible competition and then throw Hank Brown in SEC play. That's what I don't want to see. I don't know how y'all feel, but that's what I don't want to see.
Yeah, that's what I don't want to see either. Because you can put somebody out there against the worst competition that we'll see as a team this year and say, oh, well, look, he looks good. He looks better. We don't know what he is yet. We don't know what he is until something good happened. They hit the last free throw. Or Florida missed the last shot.
It's over. It's a wrap.
Yeah, honesty blocked the last 3-point attempt to try to tie it up.
Hey, look at that.
77-74, Auburn's lady basketball, women's basketball.
That's a tournament
18-10.
We're not 500 in conference, right?
That's 500 in conference.
Yeah, 8-8.
That's a tournament bid.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
All
they
right.
keep him out of the tourney now, then you're gonna
there's a
hear
whole
from.
conspiracy.
I need to speak to my congressman or something, bro. 'Cause we are not. Some
Address the constituents. What is going on?
I'm gonna let you. Did any of you guys have a point after B?
No, go.
About
I mean,
this?
y'all are saying what needs
my
to be
bad.
said.
But
about
yeah,
this.
so-
No, but go ahead, B.
Whatever you decide to do when it comes to experience does have value. So maybe Hugh Freeze, like you said, Mike, is saying, okay, or like you're alluding to, see, okay, yeah, but that wasn't what it should have been last year. So let me get my hands on it. Let me put my hands on the offense with these wide receivers I've got now. And I'm gonna show you why I picked him in the first place. He has value and it hadn't shown yet, but I wasn't doing my thing with him. So okay, like Mike said, listen, terminology is not why you throw in pick sixes, though. Like, there is a breakdown between where you're supposed to go and where I'm supposed to go. We're not talking about the first 2 games. I would have been thrilled if he was only doing this the first few games of the season and then everything locked down. He did this against some of our worst competition the second half of the season, when you should have at the very, and he's had all these reps he went here for the spring. What do you think 8 weeks of practice during the week and actual real games account for?
Yeah.
That's more than your spring, your fall combined. The experience was there by the time he started throwing, or he was throwing more pick sixes. There's no excuse. I think you're looking at a low floor for him, a lower floor than you thought, and it will be a waste of 4 or 5 games into the season to not get the young guys those reps, because at least you know how low his floor is. You don't know what the floor is for those other guys, man. Give them a look. Stop giving the job away.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you guys this.
Never agree with Brian.
So let me ask you guys this. So since what I'm getting is that we don't feel confident that there's really a QB competition. So the question that I'm gonna pose to you guys is this: if you are Holden Geriner, if you're Hank Brown, those 2 specifically, Walker White, guys, check out the content we put where Mike G interviewed Walker White. Walker White got some advice from Bo Nix. You know, check that out. Great, good content. But I'm gonna focus on the 2 guys who are already in the room. Hank Brown, Holden Geriner. What do they do with that?
Well, let me start here.
Go ahead.
We're a couple practices in to spring practice. We had a media viewing period. Again, my sources are telling me that Holden's not off to a great start this spring. So that's very disheartening to hear for him, because now what he has is, in 2 years, he's got 2 appearances getting into games, right? It may, despite the circumstances, still the feeling is that it didn't look so great. And then, in this last one, you had somebody come behind you and play well. So, Holden, to me, has the biggest hole to climb out of. I think Holden has the biggest hole to climb out of. And he's been practicing great up until this point. This is the first time I've heard of Holden having, like, maybe not so great practices. So I think the math is tough for him. If you're Hank Brown, albeit 9 passes, you still have a sample size that says that you can go into a Power 5 game, not at home, and throw accurate passes. So what does he have to do to move up? Because he finished camp last year, and they thought he was the 4th best quarterback. This is all about how you break biases, guys. Like, how do you break the bias that's already set in the coach's mind about a guy? What does anybody have? Let me ask you this. What does anybody have to do to take the job from Payton Thorne in practice?
Yeah, that's my question.
Do you have to be perfect? I don't know. That's the question.
That is my whole question: is how, if it's going to be a true competition, because what Coach Freeze said was. So let me start by saying this, because I probably should have said this before. I'm not lobbying against Payton Thorne winning a competition, right? I'm not personally
winning a fair competition.
I'm not lobbying against that reality. If Payton Thorne wins a fair competition, then by all means, that means he's the best guy. Whether I feel like he's a great quarterback or not, it means he's better than the other guys that are in the room, so he should be the quarterback. Let me start there. Okay. But The question that you're asking right now is the quintessential one for me, Mike, which is how can someone else overtake Payton Thorne when you start him in the lead? If you're going to start him in the lead, then it's not a fair competition. It is you're competing, yes, but you've already given somebody else the lead. You can't tell me he took the lead before we started playing. You spotted him points. This isn't betting. You don't handicap people and say, all right, well, we're gonna spot you 4 points at the beginning of this, and you just have to go out there and prove me right.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like. This feels like this has been handicapped for everybody else, and now they have to go and play against the spread. That's not fair.
Right.
That's not a true QB competition.
Especially when Payton Thorne has not done anything in games, or much in games, I should say, to spot him that lead.
Right. He said since January he's shown leadership, which, again, that's great. Does that mean that nobody else has shown leadership since January? Or were you just looking for Payton Thorne to do some things to confirm what you wanted to see, so you were going to come out and give him the... Again, I don't have an interest in trying to make somebody the quarterback here. I just want everybody to have a fair shot, especially considering I don't think Payton Thorne did enough to keep the job.
Right.
Excuse me. I don't think he did enough to keep the job from his play on the field.
Right.
If he had gone out there in that bowl game and he looked decent, just give me decent in the bowl game.
Right.
I'd be talking a whole different tune right now. He looked bad in the bowl game. So the last impression that I have of Payton Thorne as a quarterback in an Auburn uniform is not a good one.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that's the guy who rah-rahed his way into the leadership role for the team at quarterback since January?
Yeah, but you told us last year that the criteria that you used to name him the starter last year wasn't how well he played.
Right.
I thought he was
leadership
pressing
either, though.
Right. I thought he was pressing. So we named him the starter. He'll stop pressing. What? How do you win the job by pressing in practice?
Well, that means Hank need to go out there and press like hell, man. Just do too much, Hank. Just go out there and press. I mean, Freeze coming. Just go out there and press. Everybody just press way too hard so you can get the job. That's how it go.
Come on, man. I think that Hank Brown is a talented kid in his own right. I think Holden's talented in his own right. And obviously, look, man, I'm a big Walker White fan at this point. I've never been so sold on a guy coming in that I am on Walker White. I think he has every single intangible you need. I just don't know that next year is his year. Yeah. And what you got to do the calculus of freshman QBs. If you throw them out there too early, you risk ruining them. And this is why it's important that Freeze feels like he has time to turn the team around. Because if he doesn't, then he might ruin a kid looking for a savior.
Right.
And you just don't want to do that.
Let me ask you guys this before we move on to the comments. I know a lot of people have some thoughts on this, so we want to get to your thoughts. Appreciate y'all watching live with us.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what we've discussed and your thoughts, would you be surprised if this competition extends into fall camp?
No.
Would I be surprised if it extends into fall? No, it should.
It should extend into fall camp. It
should, but based on reading the tea leaves, would you be surprised?
Okay. All right. Let's back up here for a second.
Honestly, it should, because it should be a QB competition.
Well, I'll add something. I add something to that. This is also about retention. Hugh Freeze has also already shown in year one he chooses to praise a guy when he wants to keep him engaged and keep him on the boat. You don't make the decision now, because if you do, you could lose at least one of your guys. So if Holden, to your point, Mike, if Holden's not practicing well right now, he gets less reps as the spring goes on. He goes, you know what? I see how this is going to go. Maybe I was just disengaged because I never really got a good look, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and skip. I think you keep everybody engaged by saying, well, a lot of guys showed me something, but nobody showed me quite enough. You give the nod to Payton, but you still say, I don't know, those other guys are real close. And then you keep everybody on the ship until fall. That's the best way to do it, because you don't want to have to burn Walker White's red shirt if you don't have to. So if Holden goes, then there's an injury situation that could occur where you got to put Walker White out there and unprepared at that. You don't want to do that. You keep holding here. I think that's another reason why you do let a competition go into the fall.
Yeah, like, I mean, if you haven't seen last week's episode of The Mix, Bo Nix told Walker White, don't be in such a hurry to start your freshman year. There's a lot of things about the game. Obviously, he was speaking from experience. Now, he didn't go as far to say, I wish I had sat my freshman year.
Right.
But obviously, Bo saw some wisdom in maybe him not starting his freshman year. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stuff. And particularly for a young quarterback, the decisions made by the adults in charge are going to have the biggest impact on a freshman QB. So, listen, preserve Walker White, but also play the best guy, right? And there are other things that go into that other than, like, if it might ruin Walker, then he may not be the best guy to play this year, despite what he does in practice.
Correct.
And again, I'm going back. This is why it's important that Hugh Freeze feels like he has time to turn it around so that he doesn't reach for that decision and mess this up. I think that the ceiling, everybody got up in arms when I said I think the ceiling is 7 wins. I'm just where are you pointing at and telling me that Auburn football is significantly better than last year? I think this schedule is tougher. Personally, some people feel like the schedule is easier. I think it's tougher. I think with Oklahoma and you got 3 teams on your schedule that finished in the AP top 10 last year, in Georgia, Alabama, and Missouri. You lose Mississippi State, you add Kentucky. I would argue that that's an upgrade in competition. I mean, he treated last year like a throwaway, in my opinion. So, you know what, buddy, do your best this year, but don't reach and ruin this. To answer the original question, Caesar, I know we're out of time on this topic. What do the other guys have to do? If you're Hank, in my book, I think he's just got to be perfect. He's got to demonstrate a profound knowledge of the concepts. He's got to lead by example. And he's got to demonstrate a knowledge of the game at a very, very high level to overcome Payton Thorne's experience. Because when you put Payton Thorne in the game, at least you know what to expect to try to control the factors around him. With the others, they don't have that. And my fear is that Freeze will automatically default to that because there are more factors around Payton that he feels like he can control than the other two. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Listen, let's we're gonna take a break here, and when we come back, we're gonna get to you guys' comments. Please share this video with other Auburn fans, people who are looking for great Auburn content. Smash that like button and subscribe if you have just found us. Welcome, by the way. Where you been? Pay some bills, and we'll be right back.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelika-rageroom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com. Thank you to everyone who has become a member already. And, these are like our quasi sponsorships for those of you who want to support the channel. We appreciate everybody who continues to do that. If you want to join, click that join button and make it so. And we'll definitely appreciate that. If you want to gift a membership, you can do that right now. It's going to be really cool if you guys did this like right now, like as I'm saying it, like just go ahead and like manifest a gifted membership right there for somebody. Yeah, somebody. Will there be one? You could hashtag get your weight up in the live chat, and you could potentially win a mug sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. They have been loyal sponsors of this giveaway, and somebody can get a free mug here in about 30 minutes. This show is also brought to you by everybody's favorite sponsor, and that is Manscaped. Make sure that you head over to manscaped.com. They have the MVP of 2024, Manscaped's 5th generation lawnmower. It's not just a trimmer, it's your grooming sidekick, equipped with 2 skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. And for my men who want the full grooming experience, look no further than Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0. It's a grooming kit. You get all the trusted lawnmower, Manscaped's ear and nose trimmer, essential aftercare products with the crop smoother and the ball aftershave lotion and the crop preserver anti-chafing ball deodorant. So y'all get up on that. Go to manscaped.com, use code RAPPORT for 20% off plus free shipping, because nothing says Happy New Year like a deal that leaves your balls and your budget feeling refreshed. Embrace a new you, and definitely embrace a new trimmer courtesy of Manscaped. We definitely appreciate Manscaped for all that they have done to support the War Report as well, and y'all for patronizing them. I have gotten testimonials from people who have said that they enjoy the customer service from Manscaped. I don't want to know what you feel about their products, because that's a little bit too personal, but appreciate y'all for locking in with Manscaped.
Smooth as eggs.
Shout out to Dave Chappelle. I'd be real aggressive when he say balls, man. It's just balls.
Yo, hey, yo.
It's a serious topic, so it deserves a serious.
Balls.
Oh man.
Oh no. Anyway, back to the comments. Steph Trail says, if Payton Thorne wins QB1, do you think we'll find out he's it by the time Oklahoma rolls in, or will we have to sacrifice that game to see?
This is what I hope does. Again, this is what I hope doesn't happen. I think that if I'm waiting on the coach that is got the balls to pull a mediocre QB, even when they're winning, and go another direction, and preferably before you get to SEC play. Oklahoma, I don't want to see against Arkansas. Arkansas is the 4th game of the season. Figure it out before Arkansas, or get real comfortable with that under. That's Vegas at the under at 7.5.
Yeah.
Over under at 7.5. So,
Forever Bankroll. He ain't feeling this. He says Freeze has an unnatural allegiance.
Yeah, I hope not.
That's pretty harsh, and I agree, Mike. I hope not there.
Yeah.
But I understand your frustration, Bankroll. Jonathan Taylor says, I think the hope is better wide receivers will make him better and not the other way around.
Yeah, look, let me go ahead and dispel. Like, Cam Coleman, while super talented and probably will play in game 1, is still processing the game, man, right now. And I just don't think it's wise to expect a freshman to come in a system that they're still trying to work out and make a significant impact on the quarterback. That's not how this was supposed to work. The hope was you bring in an experienced guy that will make the receivers better, not the other way around. He's the senior, man. He's supposed to make them better.
Right.
And then if he gets out there and he drops a pass because the timing's off, and then all the fans are going to be like, see, our receivers still can't catch. Stop it. This is a top 5 player in the whole country. If he struggles, there's no way we're going out and saying he just forgot how to catch a football when he got to Auburn. Give me a break. End that narrative right now.
Our guy 14 MRH says gambling on Thorne is gambling with this wide receiver class. A repeat of 2023 Payton Throne. Could mean bye-bye Freeze 5 due to the transfer portal. Thoughts, guys?
Listen, yeah, re-recruiting your roster is a thing, man. Like, I mean, I think that they'll do, or bags are going to have to be dropped. Like, there's definitely a sell job that will have to be done, because I think they get the money anywhere they decide to go.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this, though, because this is Payton Thorne's last year, I think this coach still has if Thorne is the guy and it is a repeat of 2023, I think this coaching staff still has a shot to retain these guys because Thorne won't be back, right? If they have built a relationship with Walker White. So if the idea is that Walker White will be ready in 2025, I still think there's if assuming, and we're assuming a lot that 2024 could be a mess. I hope it's not. Obviously, no one hopes it is. But if the hope is that in 2025, Walker White's your QB of the future, right? And that he'll be ready to go, which means you have something to sell the Freeze for, I think, in this case. So I that's my thoughts. But guys, I don't know if you had anything different.
I think that they were sold on Walker White, not this season's success. So I don't know that this year in particular is going to make anybody hit the transfer portal unless it looks like the offense, as far as the scheme wise, just doesn't look like it's ever going to get better. Like if you can say to yourself, man, you replace the QB with somebody who can run the system better, we're good, then I think you're fine. But if it looks a mess everywhere else too, then you might say to yourself, all right, what did I get myself into at this school? But not with this quarterback, because that's not your QB of the future, to your point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also, if it's not working, then I don't think you have a mediocre season and just suffer through it to say, well, we're just going to let it work out how it works out, and then we'll make a change at the end of the year. I think that would frustrate some players. I think that would. Because you've got guys behind him. Again, if Hank Brown never gets a look as starter, because PT comes in and just is the starter, and then mid-season is looking rough once we get into the thick of our competition, then even though you can say, well, listen, guys, just hang with me. Next year, it's going to be better. We got Walker White, Hank Brown. They're going to battle it out. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, but what I'm supposed to do for the next 6 games? Just get out here and get missed? Get overthrown? Like, don't play with any of my eligibility. I know I got more years. Why would you play with my eligibility now? Any of my snaps, I could bust my knee out at the end of the year and miss a whole year. Like, don't play with my time. And that's something I think coaches were probably used to doing. It's like, hey, why don't you just wait? Like, okay, my time is important too, though. You got a 6-year contract. I don't. Don't play with my time. Put the best guy out there now so I can get better and improve now, because I'm not going to get better running routes and not getting the ball thrown my way because the guy just doesn't see me. I think he has to do the best for the players who are on the team. That includes the wide receivers, everybody. You can do the best for all those guys. Sitting Payton Thorne down, if he's not playing well, that's not a bad thing to do if he's not playing well. I hope they don't stick with him just because he's old and we've got time to go. I hope that's not the case.
He's old. TK says he did shout out Hank Brown specifically in regards to football stuff.
He did.
And nobody else. He shouted out. He kind of shouted out Walker White. But then he said Walker White's kind of swimming. He's new and all that stuff.
Yeah, he wants the young guys to feel seen and important. And he doesn't want them to get lost in the talk of the season. So this is a little strategic for Freeze. You want those young guys to stay engaged, right? Because it will make your re-recruiting job at the end of the season easier.
Makes sense.
Right? Like 7-5 means some tough times are ahead. There are going to be some tough losses in that.
Yeah. Dana Lynch says it just doesn't make sense to make the decision this early.
Which the decision hasn't been made, right? Like, it's not as if we're definitely saying, or Coach Freeze is definitely saying Payton Thorne will start game 1. He specifically said he's not giving him the job. He still has to earn it. My point was just that you've given him a lead on the job, and I don't know that he's earned that lead.
Yeah.
Not by his play on the field. If you're talking about maturity off the field and showing up to workouts and all this kind of stuff and getting in the film room and all that, I mean, that's all great, but it's, in my opinion, he didn't do enough last year to deserve any considerations in that regard, because nobody else got a chance to do any of that last year to get any of that consideration. So yeah, of course. Oh, well, he's got the most in-game experience. Well, I mean, you didn't play anybody else. So
right.
Yeah, of course.
Walker White was in high school. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
James Burnett says, fellas, how much of this is booster NIL related? I don't see how you roll back out with Payton Thorne when you wouldn't do the same with the past 2 QBs, just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that last year was definitely at least some about the NIL. I think that it is still kind of a factor this year, which is why they didn't go out and get a portal QB. Some of this is strategic, man. Like it or not, man, the money part of this is here to stay.
And I think this is why evaluation is so important, right? You got to make sure you get the right guy out the portal.
Yeah.
All right. TJ Powell says Freeze promised Payton Thorne the job last year for coming to Auburn. Freeze is trying to stand on that promise until proved otherwise. In my opinion, that's the only thing I can think of. I can think of why he keeps giving Payton Thorne the job. But again, I think Ike has alluded to the job hasn't been given to him yet. Payton Thorne is just he's in a more comfortable situation than we would think he would be at this point.
Well, the second half of this is where I wonder. It says Freeze is trying to stand on that promise until he proves otherwise. Let's reverse the question we asked before. Before we ask, what do these other folks need to do to overtake Payton Thorne? What would Payton Thorne have to do for the coach to lose confidence in him? Like, here's the thing. If I've already, again, we'll go back to my scenario. If I already have the lead, it's easier for me to win, so I don't have to do as much. How bad does Payton Thorne have to perform in practice? How bad does he have to perform for the coaches to say, you know what, he doesn't have it? Because last year, again, people try to say that Mike said this. Mike wasn't at any of the practices. We all got reports from people who were at practices and scrimmages. They told us how people were performing. Coach Freeze said that Payton Thorne was pressing. That's not something we created. We just repeated what was said by people who were in the building watching those things. So you can't get mad at us for repeating them as if we made them up. We weren't there. So let's start there. If he repeats the pressing and the poor performances in practices and scrimmages, how bad does that have to be before you say, we're not going to roll with this into this next year?
Yeah. And I think that the assumption that people make automatically is, well, the other guys have to be really bad if they couldn't win the job while he was. And that's not necessarily true.
Correct.
That's not necessarily true. I'm telling you, in both those fall scrimmages, people who were reporting to us were somewhere between either Robbie had the best scrimmage or Holden had the best scrimmage. Couldn't get one person to tell me that Payton Thorne had the best scrimmage. Not a single person that watched those things. And some of those people who reported to us were very invested in one side or the other. And I felt like I got their unbiased opinions on it and then corroborated it with like 5 or 6 others.
Right.
So I like I said, I'm just wondering, what does Freeze have to see in his mind to say, you know what, Hank may be inexperienced, but let's give this young man a shot. Right. And because I'm telling you, that's the math that these guys are doing in their head. All you can do is go out there and practice hard and, you know, control the things you can control if you're a player. Mm-hmm. But you can do all that, and somebody can still not think you're the guy. Some person out there thought Jarquez was a better linebacker than a running back. Some dude out there, a lot of people thought that Cam Newton could not play quarterback at the pro level. It would be a bust. And he won an NFL MVP. Like I said, the evaluation part of this is what I thought that Gus was poor at it, particularly when it came to quarterback.
Lamar Jackson.
I mean, you know what I mean? It was, I think that Harsin only really had one choice at the end of the day, but he tried some different things. Freeze is supposed to be the quarterback guru, man. So, like, for the floor to be so low last year, this is where a lot of this is coming from. How could the floor be this low? Which was lower than last year, by the way.
The previous year, yeah.
Yeah. Where you fired the coach. Come on, man.
Steve Bradley's. Go ahead. Let's
wait. Let me say this because I don't want anybody to think, just because cue up the Mike G hates Hugh Freeze narratives. It's not that I don't think that he can't turn this around. We're just talking about where it's at currently. Where it's at currently, there are a lot of questions, and I think that he not only do some of these players have something to prove, but Hugh Freeze has something to prove in year 2. Right. Well, that seat gonna be hot as hell in year 3. That's the way the buyout is set up. If year 3 is hot, buyouts is set up. So
Steve Bradley says, I say win or lose, play Hank or Walker. At least they will have the experience for next year. Why have another year like last because of a lack of QB play?
Well, I mean, again, this is under the assumption that Payton Thorne will not play well, right? And again,
Right.
I get where all doubt comes from in terms of Payton Thorne. But, you know, I don't think you just automatically skip over him, because then it's not a fair competition either. Like, you just,
it goes in the other direction that way.
Correct. Yeah. Like, so he needs to have the chance to win the job. But again, I just want it to be fair. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. As a fan of the team, let's have a fair competition. Best man wins. If that happens to be Payton Thorne, great. Payton, please go out there and ball out. Like, I don't have a vested interest in Payton Thorne's failure. I have a vested interest in Auburn's success.
Yeah, it was interesting. Going into last season, the "we trust the coach" people were really loud, and then the bowl game happened, and suddenly those voices quieted it down quite a bit. But like, questioning the coach doesn't mean that you don't trust the coach,
right?
Because they're not infallible, man. They make mistakes like other people. What I want is a coach that can say, I made a mistake.
Right.
And not only did I make a mistake, I'm going to show you that it's not coach speak.
Right.
By taking a different course that shows I believe I made a mistake.
We don't believe, as we put a button on this, we don't believe that it was a competition last year. So
Yeah,
it makes sense to be skeptical of if it's really a fair competition this year.
And Caesar, again, stressing, that's based on what he said.
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
is based on what he said. If he never comes out and says he was pressing and I thought, then maybe we're not.
Or everything's up, the QB position is open.
That's it. I mean,
he said that after the bowl game.
Yeah, right. It's going to be a wide open competition.
So if he says that, okay.
But then the very next press conference you get,
it's his to lose.
Yeah, right. Come on, buddy. I'm on an emotional roller coaster here. I just want to know how to feel, Hugh.
Bankroll, we appreciate it. Tell me how to feel, Hugh. Tell me. Appreciate you, Bankroll, for gifting some 5 War Report memberships, as well as Tiffany Byers. We appreciate you as well. Guys, let's get the basketball. Let's get the basketball. Auburn men's basketball improves to 22-7. Currently, there are, what ESPN is showing me, they're 4th in the SEC going into the final week of the regular season. Next game they have is on Tuesday on the road at Mizzou, and then they have the finale at home against Georgia. Auburn has the opportunity to improve to 24-7 regular season. How are we feeling about men's basketball? Well, before we get to that, Lior Berman, it was announced that he had torn his ACL, done for the season. Auburn's career is pretty much done at this point. Thoughts about the news coming out about him and his injury? I'll start with you, Ike.
Yeah, I mean, you first and foremost, man, Lior Berman is a guy who deserves all the credit in the world for how hard he worked from day one at Auburn. He took a chance on himself and decided to come to Auburn with no scholarship and work his way to earning a scholarship. He was playing well in the minutes that he got, and you can't have, your heart breaks for him, right? Because he deserves all great things that happen in life to people who work and earn things that they deserve. I just hope that whatever is next for him, I'm wishing the best for him, but hate to see his Auburn career end in this way.
Me?
Yeah, same. He stuck with it, and he was committed to the program. He saw a reduction in minutes, honestly, and he still played like hell. Like, I thought it was crazy because yesterday's game was like, man, Lior, all right, getting them buckets. 'Cause early in the season, very limited minutes, and he just come out there cold, and he'd miss a couple of those open threes he'd get. The last couple of games, really, he was like, oh, give me the ball, and I'm gonna do what I can do. Even, he was always kind of hit or miss on defense, especially when they kind of isolate him with their best player. But I thought that he kind of just picked up a little bit. Like, he's like, this is what you're going to give me. Let me get better at this. To see him go down then, though, like right now when you're playing your best that you have this season, that's heartbreaking. And again, like you said, see, that ends his Auburn career. Bruce has been able to create a culture, though, where these guys can come in here and work their way into the rotation. And that's a credit. I think I see that more with Lior than I see with anybody else. You walk on. And you ended up, last season you played bigger minutes, but this season you still were able to contribute to this team that has, who knows how high the ceiling is. I think he'll be missed at least somewhat while you're working back. Jay Will is back, but I think it was really good to have some options in the rotation for different guys at different points. And we might not feel it so much right now, but that's another tool that we're going to be missing, man. A 3-point shooter who can get out there with limited minutes or when somebody else gets in foul trouble. And he'll be missed.
He was scoring off the dribble these last couple of games too. He was giving Auburn some good minutes. I spoke to Lior this morning. He was hopeful going in. He had an MRI late afternoon, and the news wasn't good. So we had some encouraging texts that went back and forth. Ultimately, he's got all the strength that he needs to get through this. Lots of players have had these sorts of injuries, and this is when you have to lean on who you are as a person and how hard you're willing to work to get back. Because he's going to try to play professional basketball, on some level, whether it's overseas or like him and I had talked about a few things that he had on his mind in terms of being able to play. He's got family in Israel, I think. And, he talked about playing there. And, like I said, Lior is a great person. And his contributions, not only in practice, have made this team better. Having players that go all out in practice and challenge your best players make your team better.
Yes.
And that's the stuff that nobody sees. So hats off to that young man for listen, if Auburn pulls out a championship, this is Lior's championship too.
Yeah.
They're still getting that ring, right? Sure. So, I think that any accomplishment that Auburn finishes this season with, they owe in large part to Lior Berman.
100%.
And I think it's so easy to root for guys like this because of the work they had. This is one of Bruce Pearl's. This is the most talent he's had on a team, like since his time at Auburn. This is the most depth he's had. So for Lior the story of Lior, for him to walk on, earn a scholarship, and provide meaningful minutes just tells you the type of person this kid is. He was a winner in high school. He's a winner in college. He's going to be a winner in life. And so, one time for Lior, we wish him well, speedy recovery, and much continued success in your future and war equal to that young man.
Indeed.
Let's talk basketball, Auburn's basketball. Final week going into SEC championship. Losing to Tennessee kind of put Auburn out of that discussion for perhaps winning the regular season. Played a great game against Tennessee. It's just, when Tennessee has Dalton Connect and he just goes off. That's the type of effort it's going to take. You kind of mentioned this last night, Ike, to beat a team like Auburn when it's playing well. Which
they didn't play a bad game. Yeah,
can you imagine losing to Tennessee and Dalton Connect doesn't play well?
I can because I watched it last night, baby.
Wait a minute, that did happen to somebody.
Man. He had the worst game of his career, and you
at home.
I forgot that happened completely. I don't know what I was thinking about. Man,
Auburn lost to Tennessee by 8 on the road. Alabama lost to Tennessee by 7 at home. In your house. The crowd behind you, all 50 people that showed up and bought popcorn.
Yeah.
Man.
The popcorn was free. That was 50.
Yeah, that's how they got them there.
Yeah.
All of that,
free
practice of them making sure people don't rush the court and everything, it was great.
Yeah. You did say that.
We
don't rush the court because we expect to win big games.
Yeah,
you expect to win that one, Nate?
Hey, listen.
Worst coach
sometimes life doesn't meet your expectations. Is all I'm saying.
Well, it comes at you fast sometimes. I hope he's got Geico. He's the worst coach in front of a camera. Nate Oates is embarrassing. Like
he does say some ridiculous. Like
I'm telling you,
the sound bites from Nate
basketball.
Oates over the last 2 years have been
That's ridiculous.
such cringeworthy things where you're just like, bro, just please, hire somebody else to come talk for you.
Yeah.
Like, get some, like, whisper your thoughts to them and let them say the words, because you don't put them together properly, bro. Like,
Somebody
not
needs-
not a great spokesperson.
Somebody need to put together a clip of him like in the media, you know, like the little sound effect, bruh. Like just play bruh after every time you say something ridiculous, and just I may look into that. But
yeah.
anyways, how are we feeling about Auburn moving forward? I mean, how we feel about this team? Is this team? It seems like they're getting whipped into shape. Ike, you said something last night during the post game. It almost seems like the Jay Will being injured turned out to be a bit of a blessing in disguise, because we've seen guys like Chad Baker Mazzara. We see guys like Chaney Johnson begin to take that next step forward. It almost seems like that almost had to happen because you need their production, especially now that you're kind of down a guy in Lior Berman. But your thoughts, Ike?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the team needed to figure out who else could step up for them. And it's almost as if you removed the security blanket of Jalen Williams for that game, and other guys had the opportunity. So, you know, not to take it back to the quarterback conversation too much, but in the absence of the person who you favored coming in, other people step up in that void, and you needed them to see the floor in order to see that they could do it. They needed to see those kind of minutes and have that opportunity in order for you to have that confidence that they could do it going forward. Jalen Williams didn't have this is the first game that Jalen Williams doesn't play great and Auburn still wins it. Every other time Auburn gets a win, you see Jay Will show up in a big way in that game. He wasn't really a big factor offensively for the team. Not that he didn't play poorly, but he didn't score a bunch of points. He was just efficient.
Yeah.
Right? He just didn't make a bunch of mistakes, but other people stepped up and scored, and that's what you need to be able to do, and him be in the lineup, right? Like, you don't need him to be absent for that. You need both of those things to coincide. And again, I said this last night, my only worry is that Jalen will regress back into the passivity that we don't want to see from him when they need him to step up and reclaim that alpha type of energy. Hopefully that's not the case and he doesn't become deferential again. But I liked what I saw from the team yesterday as far as the grit to be able to withstand some bad spots in the game, right? Like you had some places where you weren't playing so great, but you came out and they closed the lead, and then you went and extended the lead again. They just need to reproduce that on the road.
Yeah.
All right, guys. B, let me ask you your thoughts about Auburn moving forward in the tournament, SEC tournament. What are our expectations here? What are your expectations and thoughts about how this team can perform? Obviously, we know a few years ago, Auburn lost to A&M their first game in the tournament. Last year, I was trying to look up what we did last year. But your thoughts about what you expect this team, what this team can do in the SEC tournament here?
I expect us to get to the semis. One of the 4 best teams in the conference. I expect us to be in that final 4 of teams in the SEC conference tournament. I think that should be expected. I'll keep thinking, is there anybody that would be seated below us that has a really, really good matchup advantage against us? And I don't think there is.
We lost to Arkansas last year. We lost to Arkansas.
That's right.
Yeah, first game. Yeah. Go ahead.
Everybody else we should be able to handle easily is not the right word to use, because it's still a tournament and everybody is going to bring their best. But Florida, I think that would favor us if we saw them in the tournament, because I think we want that game back. South Carolina, that's one where I'm sure they want that game back, because that's probably their worst loss of the season. How we would be seated with them, because it's us, Bama, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Is Kentucky top 4, but South Carolina's 5th now, right?
We got the tiebreaker over them, I think.
Yes.
Okay. So honestly, there's really like 5 teams are right in the thick of it. I would say Tennessee has an advantage. So of course we were able to lock them down, but they got the Dalton Connect thing going for them. But I would love to see that on the neutral court. I think we should make it to the semis because we should be able to beat anybody that we see on the neutral court. Our losses have been mostly away. Of course, we lost that unthinkable one at home to Kentucky. I wonder how that would go on the neutral court as well. A chance to get back at them, but I expect semis. Semis is what I expect, and I'd be a little disappointed if we didn't make semis. But that's what I expect from this team.
Okay, all right, gentlemen. Any thoughts on the tournament play and Auburn getting geared up for March in a deep run into the tournament?
The tournament hasn't been kind to Auburn, so they just have to. I think it's more about just keeping momentum going into the NCAA tournament, which is why you want to win a couple. And look, man, nobody's blown Auburn out this year.
Well, Kentucky did.
Yeah, well, yeah, but really, I think they had tie, so that's probably how that happened. But nobody else had tie, so nobody else blew Auburn out. And they played tough on the road. Tough road wins have come tough. Technically, so. Road wins have come tough, but they've come tough for everybody in the top 10. You go back and you look. Midway through the season where everybody's like Auburn's a crap road team, I was like, well, if you look at the top 10, everybody's losses are on the road. So it's not like there's some team out there just slaying it on the road. Road wins are tough in college basketball. Auburn, in my mind, if they get a good tournament run, should be a 3 seed. There should be. I was looking at Lenardi's bracketology, guys. He had Alabama a 3 seed before the Tennessee game, and Auburn a 4 seed. And I just don't understand that. I know they played a tough schedule, but I think they're first 4 in kind of team in my book. That's where they should start. Auburn is like a 3 seed. So
Bama has the record, and they definitely have the net stuff, but I don't.
Yeah, I'm hating on them.
I'm upset that we lost to them because I just don't. I think that Bama is not a good basketball team. They are a good 3-point shooting team. They're not a good basketball team.
Well, their coaches come out repeatedly and say they got problems on defense. It showed because, again, Dalton Connect didn't have his best game and they lost by 7 at home.
That's crazy. How do you lose to Tennessee with Dalton Connect doesn't play well?
Going into the tournament, it's just all about momentum, right? From the SEC tournament, do enough positive things to create those good feels going into the NCAA tournament. This team's got to get out of the second round, guys.
Yeah.
I think we're almost at that point where it's not a fire the coach kind of deal, but it's time to start winning. A couple games, and Arkansas made 2 straight Elite Eights. Auburn should be doing that at this point. This is one of Bruce Pearl's best all-around teams, if not the best.
This team should, at the very least, get into the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
I think they can make a deeper run than that, but this is a Sweet 16 type of team. I think Auburn had issues the past 2 seasons. Auburn had some issues that begin to rear its ugly head this time of the year, and I don't see. I was in a wait and see approach to see if there were going to be some issues that begin to show, and this team is not only not showing those, but we're actually seeing its depth begin to really show as well, with guys being injured, guys stepping up. I like this team, and this team should be prepared to make a run. So, all right, good conversation, gentlemen. Let's get to the drawing. Ike, we giving away a mug, right?
Yes, indeed.
Courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. You already know what to do, and if you haven't done so already, too late, because Ike's ready to draw.
It's too late. I said it's too late to enter the drawing. It's too late.
Let's see.
Chris
Wiley. Chris Wiley, are you here, sir? Let us know if you're here. Guys, I didn't know if you had any more final thoughts when we went on Chris Wiley to let us know if he's here about basketball.
Well, I did, because you were asking, what do the other quarterbacks have to do early in the conversation to steal the job? And I was thinking, not only do they have to go out there and outperform in scrimmages, but they need to put on a defensive jersey, go out there and then pick Payton Thorne off as a quarterback. And then hey, I'm better all the way around, coach. What's up? That's what you got to do. Play both ways, and then pick them off.
Do the impossible.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
I you know what? And again, I know we're joking about that. I sincerely hope that that's not the case, right? I really hope that these young men who work hard during the off season are not put at a disadvantage when it comes to this quarterback competition. And I have no choice but to trust the coaching staff will make the right decision, or they're willing to pivot off of the wrong decision.
Yeah.
That's the only hope that you have for wanting to see Auburn perform well and the other people that are involved in this offense not suffer is coach makes the correct decision or pivots off of the wrong decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chris Wiley is here. So, Chris, congratulations, sir. We need you to email us business@thewar report, where you will provide us with your physical address and we will send your mug to you. Congratulations and thanks again for supporting and watching. All right, tell the folks what they need to be doing, sir.
John, come on in here and become members of the War Report family. We appreciate everybody who has done that. And thank you for those of you who gifted memberships today. If you'd like to do that before you get out of here and you are a member, let someone else get a free month of membership on you. They need to be listening to the podcast versions of what we got going on. Auburn Express, Up-Tempo Podcast, College Loop, and Just a Sec pods are all there for you to do so. And if you didn't win something today, you can go over to the store and buy something for yourself. You know, get something pretty for yourself. You earned it. That's it.
Whisper it. That's it, baby.
Before you get out of here, help us out, y'all, by sharing this content. We had a great conversation about QB competition as well as Auburn basketball. So share this with other Auburn fans. Smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. You can find us also on social media, Twitter, X, Instagram, even Facebook at The War Report. You can also find us on TikTok at TW Report as well. That's it for now. We will catch you on the morning drop. We will be talking some recruiting news. A little bit of recruiting news on this Monday. Big D commitment this weekend. We will discuss it there. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And as always, where you go?
Where you go?